Hello and welcome to Gwent. So CDPR showed 10 new cars that they apparently designed for Arena, but they are gonna be available in Constructed as well. So without further ado, let's just get started. First, fun looking horse, who are Quacks. And she has 7 power, deal 5 damage to self. When this unit's power equals its base power, deal 7 damage to 3 random units. Apparently it's 3 enemies instead. And the potential max value of this unit is 7 plus, well, you deal damage to self. So it's like 21 plus 2 because of that, so 23. Now worth noting that dealing damage to random units is a problem in itself, because if it was like deal 7 damage to 3 units, I can see people just talking about, oh yeah, how about like some buffing some units in hand, playing maybe Stefan, we're just like trying to buff that, and apparently the ability only triggers once, so you can forget about like I don't know, like putting a Wildboar of the Sea that buffs her, then like hitting it with a ship and just like the ability triggers all the time. That would be a little bit broken maybe, but like ultimately it really wouldn't happen a lot of times. Anyway, like just healing this back up, I suppose that could work as well. But the point is, dealing 7 damage randomly, like let's just assume that you hit two units for full damage, but you whiff on one. You just hit a 1, and guess what's gonna happen? Instead of 23, this is gonna be a 17. Complete garbage. Of course, in some scenarios it might work out, but also it has to be said that setting up this scenario where the horse is gonna be a potential 23 is probably gonna cost you, and sometimes this is gonna be just bad, or possibly even dead. I just don't really see this risk-reward, like pretty big risk for like a 23 at most. That's gonna be happening randomly. Again, best case scenario, like you do everything right, you might just still whiff on target. So, and also it's gonna be probably no good last turn, if it's a short last turn. So, a fancy looking horse, I'll give you an F. I don't know, maybe some people will try to make this work, but I just don't see it as like a finisher. Like, okay, I just don't really see this risk reward here. There's nothing really wrong with it. I just feel like for this kind of trouble, you might want more. I think if they just simply made deal 7 damage to 3 units, I could see that happen. Because if you like just play with Stefan, then you play basically like a 15 gold. That's 3 below the average, because the bronzes are 12, and silvers usually represent the +3, and golds represent the +6. So the gold base power is like 18. That's the base. Ideally, you want more than that. So, like, you get 23 with this horse. Stefan Skeleton is a -3, and yeah, this works because it's neutral. So in that way, you could play the horse for like 20. So it's playable if that situation comes up, but I don't believe this random is gonna do the horse any favors. So I don't know. At least take that one out. I could see it maybe getting used. Dandelion Vainglory. Also, I don't really see much point, like this whole random part. I don't know. Like I don't think this is the kind of random we wanna see. Anyway, Dandelion Vainglory. Boost self for each Gerald, Yennefer, Triss, Sultan card in your starting deck. And there's nothing technically wrong with this guy. I believe he's kind of a boring card. Like, that's not gonna see play, basically. Because in ranked mode, you have 4 gold slots. And if you put in like Gerald, Yennefer, Triss in your deck, you have Dandelion as an 18. That's base. That's nothing too exciting. It just like dropping an 18, like you can drop it at any time, of course. But also it's like partially boosted, slight disadvantage, but doesn't really matter too much. But you gotta have a really good Gerald, Yennefer, and Triss in the deck, and then you really want that 18 power in there. Again, that's base power. You can probably snatch up something better than that. If anything, this card is just a problem in Arena, in my opinion. Because if you pick up this card, and let's just say you have a Royal Decree in your hand, in your deck, and you just pick up a bunch of Gerald, Yennefer's, Tristan, and Zoltan cards. Keep in mind, all these cards are gold, so by having this card, this limits the devs from ever making... They're not gonna make a bronze version of either of these characters, but silver. And that's probably not gonna happen, because it affects the power level of Dandelion. Now in Arena, you might just pick up like 5, 6 of these characters, and then suddenly he becomes a diving condition that is just gonna swing you the game. But is he gonna swing the game in a interesting way? Not so much, I would say. So, I don't know, I'm not entirely convinced by him. He's not a finisher. You don't... Again, 18 is not much to write home about, because let's just say you like build a Sirinova deck, then you got a Sirinova with 22. Is Sirinova with 22 good? Like, playing a 22 and an 18 last round, like that 4-point difference is colossal. That's massive. You can't just like play an 18 as a finisher. That's not a finisher, so it fails as that. It doesn't give you... It just some points. It's basically a +3 Gerald, so... I don't know. I'm not terribly excited about that card. Roach the Merciless. 5 power, destroy a face down ambush unit, then draw a card. This is the most problematic card, I have to say, because it's extremely swingy. Like, either it doesn't have a target and has nothing else to do. It's 5 power. It's either a 5 power or destroy a silver card and draw a card. So, like, how much? Well, or maybe like, and actually it can be destroy a gold as well. If there are any gold ambushes, like it doesn't specify, and you don't know what kind of ambush that is. So, let's just say that destroying a face down ambush unit is like worth like, I don't know, let's just say like 15ish, it's 14ish, at least 13, at very least 13. So if he works out, at least he's on 18 plus then draw a card. How much is that worth? We know that the silver spies are just like minus 13, and you just get that for free on top. So at very least we can put a plus 13 on there, but like realistically, if the spies were like 16 or 18, most people would play them. Never mind that. Let's just give it a 13. So like very conservative calculation here is that, let's just say we destroy an ambush unit, average value 13, then drawing a card. Let's just say that's worth 13. It's not. It's actually not about the point. It's about the card. So at very least it's a 30, I don't know. At very least it's a 31, doesn't really matter, if you're just talking about the points here. Now, but, like, this is either a 5 or at least a 30 plus. At very least a 30 plus. And it's in a faction, because if this was in scoia'tael, I know for sure what people would do. They would play Operator. They would give away a sapper and give that to the opponent, and just with the, hey, I want you to play that sapper, baby. Don't you want to play that sapper? So you would give your opponent an unplayable card, because if they ever play it, you actually won that. It's really good for you. And it might come up in Arena, but it's probably not gonna come in Constructed. The only advantage, only redeeming factor of the situation is that he's a gold, so probably silver creates are not gonna get him. Uma might find him, Roach Merciless, and it's gonna be like sick. Like if you play Roach Merciless like successfully on an ambush unit, that's probably gonna be game. Unless I don't know what's gonna happen. So I don't like this, and you can put it in your deck, because like, now this basically guarantees that the the meta will never be ambush dominated. And this is such a heavy-handed counter to it. I don't know. Like, basically you can say that if your opponent has ambush units in his deck, then you win the game. Okay. We can just go with that, else it's 5 power. I don't know. We'll see. Not a huge fan of him. Venthyr, the Necromancer, Mage Adern, 5 power, resurrect the bones of Silver Soldier from your opponent's graveyard. Worth noting that the Bloody Spies are not Silver Soldiers or Bronze Soldiers, and this is basically a +1 Caretaker. That's a lot more situational. And the thing about Caretaker is that it is not in any deck basically. It is basically on decks. Well, basically keep in mind, golds are +6, and Caretaker is only really worth it if you're getting at the silver that's actually good for you. And keep in mind, the opponent has to play that silver, and that silver has to die for you to be able to play that. So that's a lot harder to do, and many decks actually don't have relevant spheres for you. And if you're just getting at the bronze with the Caretaker, that's not great unless you're getting at the Skellige bronze that they buffed up and they plan to resurrect later. So that basically leads to the point that you don't really see Caretaker in monster decks unless it's just some broke monsters who can afford some other gold. But you see it in one deck. It's the Wild Hunt, because you play Iris, Iris dies, you resurrect Iris, and Iris dies again. That's the way you can guarantee that you have a target for Caretaker. Not exactly guarantee, plus have some kind of a versatility. I will say it easily that Shani is just straight up better than Caretaker. Like, Caretaker does have some potential to shut down plays. You can steal silvers, you can steal bronzes. Shani doesn't have that, but Shani is a lot more reliable. Now, Yennefer is a +1, but only soldiers, and you might think like, okay, like, what if your opponent doesn't have a soldier? Obviously, she's a 5, she's the reason you lost the game. Rest in peace. So that's no good. So you can't play it like that. You might pick an arena, but it's a really bad idea. You're just better off picking, and your vanilla Gerald is amazing compared to her. So how would you do it? Like, if we give our opponent a bronze that's good for us with the operator, is that good enough? Well, not so much, because then that bronze would need to die as well. And if we played earlier rounds, the operator, then we give the bronze soldier or the bronze soldier to the opponent. Again, keep in mind, gold's supposed to be +6, and she's only a +5. And if we are only resurrecting a bronze +5, not worth it. And if you play operator first turn, the opponent is just gonna mulligan it away and never gonna play it. And if we play it last turn, then we need to give the opponent the soldier and kill the soldier, then Yennefer the soldier. Of course, we might be able to steal a relevant soldier, but like, again, like, is it really worth it? At best, we are stealing some key Skellige units that are soldiers. So I say too close to Caretaker and overall pretty much trash. I'm not terribly impressed with these. Umbra with Sabbat, duel the highest enemy on turn end. If this unit survives, heal it by 2 and give it 2 armor. So this unit is actually somewhat interesting. So the goal of this unit is to duel. You can play this if you're the meta. Well, I don't know if you can play this, because you wanna target for like 7-8 power units that you just duel and heal up, get some armor. Yeah, if this unit survives. Because if that's not the case, you're gonna play this for 5 power, and at the turn end, it's gonna duel the highest unit. Let's just say that highest unit is actually pretty damn strong, and it's gonna smack Umbra Sabbat in the face, and guess what? You play the gold for 10. So this card is completely unusable if your opponent has big units. So that's a bit of a problem, but let's just say that's not the case. You play this, you kill an 8 for free, in a way, you heal up, you kill an 8 for free again. So if that is the case, or just like kill a 7 or 8, if like Umbra Sabbat triggers 2 turns in a row, and your opponent only has small units, he can be good. But also, not only your opponent has to have small units, but also have to have no removal. Because he's only a 7. And even if your opponent has partial removal, like, I don't know, let's just say he has an Elven Archer. Then he damages Umbra Sabbat down to a 3, Umbra Sabbat gets into a duel, and he kills himself. Most likely, even against the 7. So, not great. Even if he has like any kind of poke at him, it's gotta be savage. So, well, I don't know. I think it's a very niche card. I don't really see it doing too much. It's basically the succubus of countering mid-range decks on steroids. Because you can play the succubus late, but you gotta play this early. And basically, well, you kinda early. You need at least like 2 or 3 turns of value. And of course, if unchallenged, this could be okay-ish. But like it could be good. Like if it like triggers for 3 turns and just keep triggering and your opponent has nothing to counter it. But that, come on, what are we thinking about? Like, can I bring up one deck as an example? I can't. I don't really mind cards like this. Oh, he even has some succubuses. How nice. I don't really mind cards like this, but I just feel like it's just way too niche, isn't it? And obviously, like any card that's trash or way too niche, like this could be like insane or completely useless. This is completely useless. This is like, why bother for at best an 18? But this can be broken in Arena. And this horse, again, why bother? Best case scenario, it can be just total trash because you randomly damage units. And Umbra Sabbat, again, if your opponent has some big units, it's just unplayable. Anyway, Triss Telekinesis. Create the Brawn special card from either player's starting deck. And this is actually quite usable. And only Brawn special. It's not bad. You know, it's starting deck. You don't have to have bronze left in your deck. You probably wanna use her with a combination of 1 good bronze on your side, or maybe like your opponent could be running a bunch of bronzes. So that could be the downside of it. If your opponent is running a bunch of bronzes, she might be bricked. Because let's just say the Skellige runs a bunch of like Resurrect Beast or crap like that, and then she gets bricked. So that's not great. You might want her with a like a bigger spell pool. Ultimately, there's nothing wrong with a bronze special card +6, especially then this crate option does give her a little bit more flexibility. The closest comparison is Eileen to her, who plays 2 bronze special cards through bronze spells or hazards, actually. And those are not amazing right now. I don't know. She's a fine card. And obviously you want to use her with at least 1 spell in your deck. So it's fine. I would even go as far to say that she might be an okay craft for just like as a generalist option for beginners. But I don't know. She could be good in like a spell heavy deck. It's really hard to say right now. We just gotta see what kind of spells are gonna come in the future. Special cards, that's what I should say, special cards. There's nothing wrong with her. Like, Brawn special card +6, so... Let's see. Dandelion Poet, draw a card, then play a card. Again, this is a very, very, very simple card, and also a very strong one. Again, golds are +6, he's a 6, he draws a card, thins your deck. I feel like unless the golds are just ridiculous, you probably want him in your deck. Because he thins your deck, he can draw golds, he can draw anything, and he's a +6. That's exactly what you want. No doubt, like, he is gonna be the, like, we can have like Royal Decree in the deck, we can have like Gauss in the deck, but like if Dandelion Poet is an option and you can achieve some level of deck thinning, like Dandelion Poet is so much better. You're not getting a +1 or a +2, you're getting a +6 plus draw a card. Then of course you gotta play a card. And kind of that's something I also have to point out, that this card not only represents good points by himself and thins your deck, but also he represents tempo as well, because you can play him for 6, then play another gold for like base 18, so at that point you're playing Dandelion Poet plus a gold, so for like 24-ish tempo, and that could be a lot. So, and also last turn he represents finisher potential as well. So, like, let's just say your last card is like a gold. You draw into your gold and you played a +6 plus your gold. Like, if people play Royal Decree plus their gold, they definitely gonna play Dandelion plus their gold. So, this is a very strong card. It's not as reliable, not as crazy as like a Royal Decree, but like, this is pretty much a must include. Unless the gold cards ever become to a point where all of them are like at least 20 plus. But even then, like, he is just really good. Ceres Fearless. Resurrect the next unit you discard. She at first seems to be fairly statted. And okay-ish, but the problem is you gotta resurrect, well, discard a unit. Discarding has a price, and usually you're discarding units that they either resurrect themselves, like the Raiders, or I don't know, the All-Geared, or All-Geared. Would All-Geared? The question is, would All-Geared resurrect with his full HP? No, it would die. It would discard first, then yeah, no, it's not. It would not worth it to resurrect All-Geared. So I'm thinking Queen's Guard is the only one that this might be good with. So let's just say you discard one Queen's Guard, play Ceres, then you play King Brawn, and you go Queen's Guard, and Ceres. Then all the Queen's Guard get resurrected. And because yeah, resurrect the next unit. In a way, then she becomes like a 6-power resurrector, but that you gotta play early. It's not bad, but it would not worth it. For example, with a unit that gives you nothing. For example, like just some like 11, like a Clan and Crave. I don't even know how they call it. You can't just play like an archer and just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna discard something that just has like 11 power and that's it. Because you gotta also play the discard for that card, and this card has a price. So we'll see. This could be a card with the Queen's Guard, but also you gotta have the Queen's Guard. You would need to have this in your opening hand. Because later, the Queen's Guard are already in the graveyard. So, I don't know. I'll give this a maybe. Under ideal circumstances, very ideal circumstances, she's meh. She's okay. Dandelion Poet is definitely in the winner so far. And 2 more. No, I don't want to fave it. Moran the Forest Child? Oh, I actually saw her. What the fuck is going on here? So, I actually saw her original art. That's a lot more slutty. That looks actually a little bit better. Anyway, So she is basically like the cards we had in the closed beta. When your opponent plays a bronze or silver special card, flip over and cancel its ability. We had this. Ida had this. Shiru kinda had this. He actually cancelled the special card, then played a Scorch. Well, he cancelled the special card. It's kinda interesting, but it's also a bit risky because many times people don't run a Glaze because you don't know if your opponent's gonna have a spell, and if they don't have a spell, you're just playing an 8. But if your opponent has a spell, you're probably getting good value, except if that spell is actually actively working against you. Like, let's just say you're liking a bunch of big dudes, and your opponent plays a Scorch on you, and replaying that Scorch won't be good for you. Now, Moran Forest Child will get around that, because instead of replaying it, she will block it, but has less power, and she may never flip over. And if it doesn't work out, I'm pretty sure that she is just a 0, which is terrible. And also Teruvil is so bad. Some people run it, but Teruvil is really bad. She's the only other ambush card that doesn't flip over for a long time. So if it doesn't flip over for like 2 rounds, then it's not a set. Then well, either it's a well, if it flips over in 2 rounds, it's either a Malena or Sapper. So that's kind of easy to figure out. And if it doesn't flip over, it's gonna be either a Moran Forest Child or Teruvia. It's probably not gonna be Teruvia. So the thing is, if you have one spell, it's not even worth playing it, because it's gonna be blocked and the opponent's gonna get 6 power. And again, if your opponent has, I don't know if this is just worth the risk, because the risk reward is just not there, I feel like. Because if it works out, it's okay. Well, it's technically even better, because like, okay, if you block a silver plus 6, that's a bit of above average. So this card is kind of like a, I don't know. Let's just make it like a, I don't know, 18, 20, we can call it that if it works out. But if it doesn't work out, it's pretty terrible. And also she can get locked as well before her effect triggers. So that's not great. And they have a decent lock on her. So I don't know. I think it's just not really worth the risk reward, because let's just say like on one end we got like a 20 and the other end we got a 0. Average it out, that's not worth it. So that's the problem. Gerald the Trash. Apparently that's his nickname, at least according to Gwent. Gerald Professional. I accepted a job once, did it? I asked to choose my reward. I invoked the law of surprise. So that's not exactly a Gerald voice, but whatever. So he's 7 power, deal 4 damage to an enemy. If it's a monster unit, destroy it instead. So he's a base 11, which is complete trash. But if you're against the monster faction, then he is... But the thing is, like, it's gotta be a monster. Like, if it's a monster bronze, well, technically if you destroy like a monster almost anything, it's kind of okay-ish. Not exactly. You gotta destroy something that's not like a stronger ability unit, because if it already does half of its like part of its power on deploy, then it's not exactly worth it. Like, for example, if you just destroy a fiend, then it's kind of worth it. But if you destroy, like, for example, like a Ciliano Harpy, then you destroy the Harpy, but the eggs are still kind of there, so you're not really getting full marks for that. This is just a hard counter to monsters. Also, it doesn't specify anything, so this could be actually a gold as well. He can destroy the Karen, for example. Oh, yeah, he can destroy the Karen, for example. I don't really want to see this. I don't know. The thing is, I don't think this is a good arena card either. Obviously, like, you're not gonna put this in your deck. You might RNG into it with Umbra, but like, you're not gonna put this in your deck in ranked. And even in arena, would you put this in? Maybe, but like, if it doesn't work out, well, I suppose it's not that big of a swing. It's either on 11, which is 7 below the base, or you destroy a monster unit. Again, we can consider the average is like, let's just say we destroy like bronzes and silvers. Let's just say it's like 14, so it's like a 21 and 11. We average it. You need to destroy a monster unit quite a lot for Gerald, the professional, to worth it. So we'll see. More in first shot, I would like to see this in rank for sure. Gerald professional, not so much. It just doesn't seem. I actually, this doesn't really matter. Even if they put this in the game, like, it's mostly just gonna devalue the packs, I believe. It's not gonna help too much. More in first shot could actually help, but only in a meta where people actually play a lot of spells. Saris, very slim use. Dandelion Pot is like totally ridiculous. Brawn's 3 telekinesis is like, meh. It's okay. Umbra Sabbat, I think just too risky. Yennefer Necromancer, like, we just gotta look at Caretaker. Like, if like Caretaker doesn't see play without Iris, how the hell does Yennefer Necromancer will ever see play? I don't believe playing the Operator, give the opponent a soldier combo, then killing it is gonna be that good that she's just actually included. Roach, complete trash, or auto win the game. Dandelion, the 18 power, situationally. If you run Yennefer, Triss, and Zoltan, I don't know, like, this is not really an interesting card. If anything, this is just a problematic card in arena. And stupid golden floating horse. That, like, if it didn't do random damage, I mean, like, random damage to random units, I could say this, like, this is like an acceptable card. Yeah, really, like, they only need to take out the random part. And, bam, they actually have a good card, in my opinion. But with the random part, it's really hard to give it my stamp of approval. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.